Welcome to Season 4 of Maker Club by EEFocus in partnership with the Hackaday Innovators, a world-renowned hardware innovation contest, and DigiKey, a global leader of distribution of electronic components and automation products worldwide. As our long-term partner, DigiKey will continue to support makers, embarking on a journey of innovation, exploring the possibilities of technology, and creating a better new world together. David Gomba is an Italian maker and storyteller focused on IoT, STEAM, and home automation. He designs experiences that connect technology and culture. Notable projects include Fab Lab for Kids, Rural Hack, and IoT collaborations with Seed Studio. How did you get into the maker field? What sparked your interest in IoT, home automation, and wearable technology?
So back in the days, I was making visual projections, something called VJing. So I was more of a video maker and a digital compositor. And I was 20-ish back in the days. And I was making artsy stuff. And I was projecting in big events, disco festivals. And I ended up needing a way to control visuals in a peculiar way, customized way. A way that was designed by me rather than one of those controllers you could buy. So this is how I ended up discovering Arduino, and I ended up making my own controllers, which actually is here. I put it up in a, well, was scavenged, and it's more than 15, 16 years, this thing. But the funny part was that I was able to put it in a VHS cassette. Most of you don't even know what a VHS cassette is, but at the time I was using them. This eventually brought me to attend an Arduino workshop in London and meet the Tinker London team by then. And this made me inviting Massimo and Gianluca to host a workshop of Arduino in Italy. Oddly enough, at the time, Arduino was not known in Italy, was far more popular in London. And this is not really uncommon. I don't know if you ever heard of this Latin proverb, Nemo profeta in patria. Nobody is a prophet in his very home nation. So I was actually able, with my attempt to make Arduino popular in Italy, and ended up later founding one of the Arduino companies in Italy. So that was the beginning of my journey in Maker.
As a creative technology expert, you excel at combining technology and cultural fields. Could you provide an example of how you achieve this integration in your projects?
Well, every project has a client, if I'm not the client myself, and each project has a problem to solve. Maybe it's a very juvenile and light challenge. Back in the days, we designed a smart apartment that was helping people with special needs living there, enabling them to live by themselves. We were designing, back in 2016, 2017, we were designing a smart retirement apartment. All the technologies that we put in action were designed after the needs of these people in the respect of their privacy. And we designed with the help of interaction designer and with the help of interview process. We designed a process that was put all the needs in action, which were these people points of view, the caregiver points of view, and their families. So in this triangle, we meant to find a compromise in letting these two girls, in this case, living by themselves, allowing the nurses and the caregivers to look after them if they need any help.
Your involvement in numerous home automation projects, such as smart mirrors, is notable. What are some of the key technical challenges in these projects, and how do you overcome them?
I was using voice-connected tools in the open source environment, so they were local engines that were able to analyze the voice. Actually, this was far before Home Assistant dedicated a whole year of their wonderful project to the voice automated home, which now works as a super cool device. At the time, they were very interesting, but not as powerful projects. The fact that most of these projects fail when they are not released open source. So especially in the voice automation, there has been many changes during the years. At the beginning, we were all enthusiasts that Amazon was releasing a premium way to control your house via your voice, using your voice. Most of the people weren't aware that the environmental footprint of this and the privacy concerns of this. What happened was that some people, some smart people tried to develop these projects to an extent in an open source way. Some of these startups were after bought and killed, but the legacy of this project is indeed the fact that they were released open source. So the big challenges and how to overcome them is to put yourself in your user shoes and try to leverage the most his rights, obviously declining it to the fact that you have to leave after an open source project. In this way, I think Home Assistant is one of the best examples of open source projects that has to receive money, has to make money in order to survive. And so they made a company back in the days, I mean, not at the very beginning of Home Assistant, after some time, but they made a company so they were able to sell and profit from the open source they were putting on the market. This business model is not new. Arduino does it, C-Studio does it, but it was the first time we were seeing this in an home automation, very horizontal project, right? It's meant for everybody. I mean, nerdy people, but everybody. I think is less vertical, less pointy than using Arduino or Grove, build your own device. I think it's slightly higher level than building your own things. But that's my point on this question.
Founding Fab Lab for Kids, which focuses on STEAM education for K-12 students, is a significant achievement. Could you share some of your experiences and insights in education? How do you think we can better foster the next generation's innovative spirit and technical skills?
I indeed founded this site and group of people that were offering STEM education 10 years ago, I mean 2012, 2013, more than 10 years ago. I did it because nobody was doing that at that time. There were no kind of robotics, 3D printing, coding clubs. It was Coder Dojo was coming to Italy. Coder Dojo was giving these courses for free, which was wonderful. What I did, since I had the possibility to do it, was giving these courses as a service, as a true course in schools, in festivals. And I was able also to produce my very own maker fair in my hometown, Turin. And what I always believed was that these courses had to be given in schools. We could meet one weekend every month to do it for free. But if you ask me to do a course for 24 hours in a class, then there has to be some economical exchange of it. That said, how this evolved was that we kept on doing that for the decade until the COVID arrived. Then I understood that all this maker challenge, in Italy at least, has been gentrified. So most of the schools at that time had a 3D printer in their class. Most of the schools had a robot. A lot of money was invested in products. Very little money was invested in teaching teachers how to use these products. So what we are doing now is mostly teaching teachers on how to use these products rather than kids. There is a lot to be done in the STEM education field, and I think that there are very few innovations running out in that field.
Exploring the application of IoT in grassroots agriculture is one of your areas of expertise. Please talk about your experience in this area and how IoT technology can improve agricultural production and efficiency.
I'm actually working in installing these kind of technologies of monitoring in vineyard. But what I see is that the average farmer, which in Italy is a little company, the fact that Italy is really jeopardized, the average agricultural company is family-based in Italy, and the average age of this family is kind of old. So there is a lot of work to be done in promoting these monitoring technologies among these kind of customers. Most of the time, they're not aware of the money they could save in chemicals and in workforce if they were to adopt monitoring technologies. So it's a challenge we fight. We as system integrators in the agricultural field fight every day. There are very few companies in Italy doing this. I had the honor to teach to young adults that will be employed as agricultural smart integrators. So I am talking about this topic on a weekly basis, and they are updating me on which are the trends of the companies they know, because they come from some family that are working with companies or that has little companies producing wine rather than rice, which are one of the two main things that we produce in my region, which is Piedmont, Turin. So it's we produce a lot of wine, and I think we should employ more sensors in the wine industry in order to have better wines and optimize the process.
Which are your favorite community-oriented projects you're like to play around?
Another project I use a lot and I teach a lot is Node-RED, which to me is a very interesting application because it allows me to merge non-coder, which most of the time my students are. My students are technical students that are, most of the time they don't have programming background, so the point is make them become self-sufficient in this world. So one of the first things I teach them is Node-RED, and after we have this slow crash course in programming, they are ready to embrace Arduino, Python, or technical stuff, which would be more scary if they were adopted at first, in my opinion. There is another open source project that merges two of my interests. One is tiny machine learning, or LLMs in general, and birds. So I've installed this sensor, which is a Raspberry Pi with a microphone. It's kind of interesting. It's very interesting also to use this in school in order to show how machine learning has changed the way we understand nature and we monitor nature. I wonder, there is also a way to share your data online and share your data with other people in order to match the differences we are witnessing in the bird population in cities. So it's interesting project, and I really like the fact that I am, from time to time I open this, and you can also be notified when a specific kind of breed of bird or a rare bird is analyzed. So it's kind of interesting. It's called BirdNet, and this is the implementation of BirdNet running on a Raspberry Pi 4, I think, so BirdNet PI. I strongly advise you to install it for your personal use and personal amusement, maybe with your kids or loved ones.
It seems you are one of the promoters of the CodeCraft project, an old but open source seed project. Why did you choose to support such a project? What is the importance of open source projects for the electronics industry?
I like it because it has the possibility to graphically help a student to learn how to deal with a board. In this case, it's YO terminal. It could be other boards from seed, and you can understand how code works. Unfortunately, this project was abandoned by Sid, but it was later turned open source. I managed to work with Wenchen Hao, which is one of the developers, to add some code blocks that allow IoT. I think it's very important to have these kind of projects open source. I would rather a major interest in the K-12 projects within the open source environment. Like saying there are very few open source projects addressing K-12. One of them maybe is Auto DIY, which is this open source robot from a team in the Czech Republic, which is open source. And they were able to make also a visual programming tool to program the robot itself. What is missing is the interoperability of the community-based libraries Microbit has with the main code, which is already not open source, but is very, very powerful because, again, you are allowed to put several code and then switch to Python, or in this case to JavaScript, oddly enough, not to C++ like Arduino is based on, and being able to learn, took your first steps in coding. So as you can see, I often deal with students that don't have any knowledge, skills, previous skills in coding, and I'm willing to add some ways to make them hooked to coding. These people, most of the time, they don't come from a computer science background. So even if they're 20, 22, they don't have any previous background. So I end up using some K-12 tools to them in order to make them acquainted with this kind of work. I think MainCode is a wonderful tool, and I think the effort in putting and adding a layer of the possibility to program show boards with a CodeCraft tool is very tiny, very low effort, and I'm always keep on testing a new and old to program using in this case Autoblockly, which is the visual programming tool that is running just for the robot. I mean, maybe we need something more horizontal that allows you to program more boards. Let's see what happens.
Which emerging technologies do you think will have the greatest impact on the electronics industry in the coming years? How are you leveraging these technologies in your projects?
Are two trends. One obviously is the fact that boards are getting tinier and tinier. In time, these boards are becoming form factor to be integrated in your projects. It's very, very quicker than what used to be back in the days. So there is a lot of competition among actors to make these technologies available for the public to build stuff, to create new products. The other big trend is, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, and I think this artificial intelligence has to be employed and tested in a local way, locally, in order to have more control over it and make it self-sufficient. I see this in many different ways using tiny machine learning projects. And so it's very cool to check these templates that are shared among people. So I am able to create a training model that will be later shared and help others to fight diseases in other places. I'm talking here about agriculture, of course. So I think this is something I'm using in my projects. I'm trying to keep updated on what Ultralytics is doing and what C Studio is doing in this direction, as much as other big players like Bosch and Arduino and other companies that are trying to use machine learning in order to be tiny machine learning in order to be usable from students and enthusiasts. The level, the distance between an enthusiast nowadays and a pro is getting thinner and thinner. So the jump from prototyping something to create something that can be deployed is shorter than it used to be. It's still there, but it's shorter than it used to be. And this is really exciting, isn't it?
What specific support would you like to enhance your innovation journey?
To meet client demands, we often need to rapidly test the new hypotheses and scenario, which requires having the necessary products and hardware readily available. Distributors like DigiKey are invaluable in supporting this process by providing timely access to a wide range of components and resources.
How can innovators in engineering and technology collaborate to create a better future?
Innovators can effectively address societal needs by understanding the real-world problems people face. Too often, powerful companies and innovators focus on non-existent issues. A key role for innovators is identifying genuine problems and developing solutions that make tangible difference for the target of the project.
What are your personal visions or goals for the future? What changes do you hope to achieve through your work?
The reason why I'm doing this job is to make technology easy and accessible to everybody. So I'm focusing on the problem, and I often try to find a solution for this problem, both in teaching and in consulting. So sometimes I'm asked to solve some issues, and I try to solve them as much as I can. So my good my good idea of the future is to become a better developer, a better creating technologies, and try to leverage my projects in order to address bigger problems.
For those entering the maker field in the electronics industry, what advice or warnings can you give?
Okay, first advice, be careful in which technology you invest, because I see a lot of technologies nowadays offering you very good solutions, but they also represent a software or even worse, hardware lock-in. So sometimes you end up becoming a system integrator for a very specific and vertical field, and sometimes you're unable to think out of the box because you just have those tools. You don't have all the tools possible. So this is an issue I've seen in many fields. Beware of hardware and software lock-in. That is one of the advices I would give. Another issue, this is a more of a bigger one, not just in electronics industry. Focus on the problem, not on the solution. So I think in our age, it's far more difficult to see the real problem. And most of the time we fell in love for a solution. There is no one solution, there are many solutions. And the fact that a solution evolves, changes. So don't fall too much in love for a specific solution. Try to adapt your solution to these upcoming problems, which are bigger and more difficult to be identified as they are. So my advice is refine your view out of these rules, and good luck.
Since you focus on STEAM education, could you please provide some advice on how to choose an innovator supporter for kids?
When choosing an innovation supporter for kids in STEM education, it's crucial to find organizations or companies that prioritize hands-on learning and experimentation. Look at those that offer access to tools, resources, or mentorship that encourage children to explore their ideas and develop creative solutions. AI is obviously a powerful trend nowadays that needs to be used properly with K-12, with youngsters.
DigiKey,